us connected. And I'm buzzing, night after night after night. This joy is electric. This joy is electric and you're circuiting through. I'm so happy that I'm alive. Happy I'm alive at the same time as you. Cause you've got a higher power. Got me singing every second, dancing every hour. Oh yeah, you've got a higher power, and you're really someone I wanna know. You got, yeah, you got a high. You got, yeah, you got a higher. You got, yeah, you got a high. You got, oh, you got, oh, you got a high. You got, yeah, you got a higher. You've got, oh, you got a high. My hands up shaking just to let you know now. You've got a higher power. You got me singing every second, dancing every hour. Oh yeah, you've got a higher power. You once in any lifetime. I'm going a million miles an hour.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you hear me out there. Welcome to the event. Welcome to Mindset versus Skill Set, the key to success in selling. And I want to start with a little question for you. And the question, I will give it right away. How are you? And I would really like that you people out there, that you put in the chat how you feel right now, because we're going to use this a little later, because it's very interesting. So please, if you hear me loud and clear now, please put in the chat, how do you feel? How are you out there? Because this is, these three words actually are something that I think you try to consider how you use them. You use them very often. Every time you meet somebody, a friend, a client, a colleague, if you're a sales manager, one of your salespeople, then you probably ask them, how are you? And then they say something. But honestly, how often do you really listen and investigate and seems interested in how they are? That means you ask them a little, okay, you're fine. What are you doing? What are you up to? That means you actually do what I call, I'll come back to that a little later, you do what I call the double click. And these, how are you, are very interesting when we look into sales, because we use them, of course, when we connect to our clients. We use them, of course, when we build our team. But I could also turn it around and say, how are you? Or you could say, how do I feel right now? Because I see that you put a lot of great words in the chat. Thanks for that. And a little later, I'll bring you in the chat as well, because I could be very curious to ask some of you. Some are calm, some are motivated, some are really excellent, some are excited. There's a lot of words there. But I'm totally sure when I double click these words, I can go deeper to understand what it actually means. Somebody feels awesome, that's great. But what does awesome mean, and why are you awesome, and how can we keep you awesome, and what could make you not so awesome? So actually, when we talk about this, to understand these three words and use them right is one of the keys to success here. Success with your clients, success in your team, and if you turn the words around and actually ask yourself, how are you? Then that's the key to more success. So by these introduction words here, welcome to Mindset versus Skill Set, success in selling. What are we going to do today? I'll just show you shortly. My goal for today is that I will give you ideas how you can focus and practice the mental muscle. What do I mean by the mental muscle? I mean that in the head, we have the brain. Some of you probably participated in my former live event, Neuroscience Selling. We will do that again with new perspectives, new tools. But this is also a kind of neuroscience live event, part 2 or 3 or 4, whatever you call it, because today we're going to work with the mental muscle. Why do I call it a muscle? Because the brain and the mentality, the mindset, it's just like a muscle. When you practice it, it gets stronger. If you get to practice, it gets weaker. And whatever the way you treat it, the way you do your muscle training, that's the muscle you get stronger. So if we really do this well, we can build up a strong muscle on ourselves, on the customers, and in the team. But let's get back to that a little later, because if we can do this, we are very fine off to have success in selling. So let's start a little in the holistic perspective here. I'll give you a couple of keys. Actually, I'll give you some of the drivers to success in selling. Then we'll go down in this with a mindset and mental perspective. I'll give you some tools for yourself. I'll give you a tool for connecting with your client. And then I'll give you a little tool how to build your team. Because whatever you're one salesman with a couple of colleagues, or you're a team of 5 or 6 or 7, one thing is interesting to know is that, as Tony Robbins says, the peer you're around, they actually give you the basis of success. And that means, think about it. Maybe you can build a stronger team around you to get stronger yourself and build them stronger, because if you build them stronger, you get stronger. So don't feel afraid of giveaway because it comes back. But let's start here. I'll jump directly to a small example here. A small example comes from a company that I work with. This company sells some industrial machines. These machines are pretty expensive. And what they try to do is to sell a service agreement with that service contract. Probably a lot of you know that as well. Combined with the service contract, they build up a small, like an insurance. And that insurance actually means that people can cover themselves, not only that they have a service contract, but also for other parts of the machine, they can cover themselves. That product was built and created by the company to get even better results. Better results the way that, of course, they wanted to sell more, get more turnover, profit, but also to keep more loyalty to the clients and the customers, to be more close to them and feel more connected. The first part of getting success with anything is to take a look at this driver here. The first driver of success in the tuning fork, that is actually what we call nothing comes from nothing. So that means we have to look at our efforts. In this situation, the company has a group of 6 salespeople. The 6 salespeople that are pretty well functioned, pretty successful. And what we defined was that it was now a goal to sell this new insurance on top of the service contract, on top of the machine. That means a triple step here. This insurance, it was the plan to sell it every time it was relevant. That means every time people buy a service contract, it was really relevant. Every time they buy a new machine, it is really relevant. If they just buy some spare parts, it's not really relevant because you cannot get the insurance on an old machine. So what we defined and what we decided here was that they wanted to do 100% activity every time it was relevant, because efforts here is a part of 2 things. It's a part of quantity and prioritization. That means do your effort, do your activity, and do it when it's the right timing. Don't try to sell something that is not relevant for the customer. So what happened now was that we started this process. And just to give you an example of how this worked, these are not the exact figures, just an example of what happened. After this period, could be 1 month, it could be 1 week, it could be 1 year, it doesn't really matter. After this period, we had a goal of selling 10 insurances, but we ended up selling 5. Normally in a company, what happens now? The management is upset. The salespeople are trying to defend themselves. This is not teamwork. Salespeople are saying, wow, I said the budget was too high, and management said you have to improve and you have to work harder. And we're discussing. In this company, we decided not to discuss. We decided to work constructively with this. And what we could see here is a gap. Maybe budget was too high, but still, it was more interesting to look upon not the result, but look upon the effort. Did they actually do the effort? And what we saw when we investigated the effort was that in this period, they tried to sell this. They had 40 potential clients buying the machine. So actually what happened here is there was a sell in 5 situations out of 40. That actually means that there was only 40 customers buying. Sorry, 40 customers buying machine, 5 were buying insurance. But more interesting was when we found out that only in 20 of their proposal, they presented the insurance. That means actually there was 40 opportunities. We defined that we will go for 100%, but they did not go. They only did 50% of the attempts that they were supposed to do. And actually we can see we have a hit rate 25%. And the funny thing is, theoretically speaking, if they've done what they said they would do, presented in all relevant cases, they could have presented it 40 times instead of 20, and with a hit rate of 25%, they reached the goal. So what's happening now is we're actually using figures to create the mindset that this is not okay, or I would rather turn it around and say, what does it need to be better? Everybody sat down, looked at these figures and said, wow, it's not a matter of beating each other up. It's a matter of saying, wow, I think we could do something different. So what they did is here they said, don't put down the budget. That will happen in a lot of places. We go down in budget. They said, budget is just a figure. What is interesting here is this we can control. So let's change our behavior in the next period. So we still go for 10, and this time 100% is a must. It's non-negotiable. It's non-negotiable that we go for 100%. They started up again. They worked with this. They tried to do the best. And then we ended up selling 7 on a budget of 10. Normally people will say, what's going on? It's only 70%. You're missing 30. You could also say that actually we improved 40%, because from 5 to 7 is actually 40%. But let's be more curious about the figures. Just like this last period, they had 40 potential sell. They did 40 potential try. So actually we could start in a very good place, because we could say they did exactly what they promised. They tried every time to sell. But there's still a gap, because you can also see the hit rate has now gone down. Instead of 25%, we are around 18. That means something is not okay. Not the effort, because now they are trying. And the basic fundamental of having success in anything, that is trying. I know that from my guys working hard for me and working together with me, they're trying all the time. And when we can see efforts are there, then we cannot blame ourselves. So then we can look upon something else like this. There are 2 things creating the result. One thing is the effort, and the other one is the effect. And what do I mean by effect? I mean exactly just like a boxer. You can hit, but if there's no power, you get no result. If you hit with the right stroke and you have power, you get result. So here we talk about do the effort, do it with quantity and prioritization, but also do it with quality. And by quality, I mean, now we talk about our sales competences, my communication skills, my capability of building rapport, my argumentation technique, my objection handling. Now we talk about the skills. Here we talk about the discipline. Here we talk about the skills. And that's the first part here of today. Skills come from here. That means we had a big issue with that insurance, because you see, they try 40 times, but they only sell 7. That's 33 lost possibilities. Why did we lose them? Because of skills? Maybe, maybe not. But what I could hear when I did some co-visit was somebody tried to argument for the insurance, like, now you bought the machine and the service contract. We have an insurance, but I guess it's not something for you. You hear the way they ask the question. They all know all about question technique. How can they do this? Wrong question. Some of them said like this, we have an insurance. It's a little expensive, but I think you could consider it. You see, they're not building the sales way in the right, they're not building the sales argumentation in the right way. So what we could see was some of them actually had a way of saying, now you bought this crazy expensive machine and it's going to work for you. You bought a service contract to make sure it's always up and running. What about having an insurance? That means that you never have to consider anything about the budget if something breaks down. The spare parts will be covered as well. It's very cheap, and you're probably going to have, for how long you expect to have the machine? For 5 years, then you can be covered for 5 years. So what they're trying to learn here is, how do I actually sell with benefit? But what we could see was not the skills, because they could all do it. They could all do it, but they didn't do it. Why? The main reason comes here. The main reason comes in the middle of effort and effect. And that's why we call it mindset versus skill set. Because right here in the middle, we have the head of the salespeople. Right now it's smiling. But try to consider, think about yourself. Do you have products that you don't think positive about? And how often do you present these products if you don't feel positive? And with what kind of power do you think you present them? On the other hand, if you have products that you really feel and think, but now we also put feel here, you also feel good about them. When you feel good, you think good, how is your power? How is your will to do it? What is your motivation? I know what it is. Your skills are better. So that means if we can start building a mindset, I see somebody say here, why start with effort as effort, impact, effort? That's great, but it doesn't matter that you're the best to anything if you don't do anything. So here it's a balance. It's not an either eye, but it doesn't start with effort. It doesn't start with effect. It starts here in the middle with your mindset. And that's one of the biggest mistakes, because very often when we're about to sell something, if the product is presented the way that somebody tells, here, salespeople, go sell this. But they don't feel safe about it. They don't know how to do it. They tried 4 times. They didn't succeed. The mental muscle gets weaker. And people said, this product is not really useful. Our clients don't want it. Or we bring up the biggest excuse for salespeople. They bring up the excuse of, it's too expensive. There's only one reason that you're saying that your product is too expensive. That's because your mental muscle is too weak. We have to build that mental muscle. So what we see here is, this is what I call your feats. You're running. And a lot of salespeople, they think that the way to success is to run more. But try to imagine that you run and you run bad. Now I put up some dirty words here. If you do shit and you do it a lot, you get a lot of shit. If you do shit and you do it more than a lot, you get more than a lot of shit. So here we have to understand, it's not a matter of either eye, it's a matter of balance. Do the right efforts, do the right with the right effect, the right power, but start practicing your muscle. Because when you start seeing that, okay, I like this product, then you get better. If you get good emotions, you get stronger. Your impact when you're with the client gets stronger. So this is all about improving and practicing our mental muscle. If you have anything in your portfolio you don't like, if your clients you don't like, we need to practice with the mental muscle. That's the only thing that you can actually do. So what we have to do here is we have to work with the mindset. This is why it's not a matter of not having skills. But the funny thing is, I've seen some salespeople that were definitely not the most skilled people, but they had a mentality, they had a mindset that didn't make them any difficulty selling whatever. They were never afraid, they were never with assumptions, they were never guessing, they were always saying, I haven't tried it, so I can probably do it. And that's the way we have to work with that muscle. Because one of the biggest problems with us salespeople, me as well, is that we assume, we guess, we think, no, I don't know if anybody wants this. How can you know that before you tried it? Oh, I think it's too expensive. Yeah, because you're guessing and you're assuming because you think it's expensive, everybody else will do it. And if you try to tell them without convincing yourself, you are not succeeding. So this is the first tool. You can ask yourself, your results, honestly, you cannot control your results. You can influence them by influencing, is my quantity okay? Is my prioritization okay? Is my skills okay? Should I improve? And if you have the mindset to work on this, to be honest, I know a lot of salespeople that tell me, I'm not so successful, but honestly, you're also a little lazy. You should do more. I know salespeople that tell me, I could be more successful. Yes, but you're prioritizing wrong. You take the, what I call low-hanging fruits. And then remember, low-hanging fruits are just next to be rotten. That means when they drop off the tree, they get rotten. So here it's a matter of understanding yourself. Are you lazy? Are you prioritizing wrong? Are you not doing enough? And can you get better? And for 30 years, I've been training salespeople. And just one question to all of you. When you're training salespeople, how comfortable do they feel when they have to practice just like a football player? They don't feel comfortable. Why not? Because you are creating a frustration in the mindset. But the only way to be better, that's to practice. So here you also have to have the mindset, I want to improve. How many of you put just one single thing in your booklet every morning saying, today I want to improve this thing? It could be your listening skills. It could be your way you question. It could be one product you'll focus on. Because I'll show you in a minute, the way to be really successful, that's by far being able of having this focus on the right stuff. Here you have what I call the tuning fork. This tuning fork is not one tune. It's three things. And the original tuning fork is definitely to make the melody balanced. And that means you focus on effort and effect. And the way you influence them is with the mindset, the will, the power to do it. But let's go into this. How do we then build a stronger mental muscle? Let's try to see this. I'm so lucky that I worked for many years with people that have to perform all the time. That can be salespeople, that can be sports people, that can be managers, people that have to perform. What I found out and what I created together with one of my really good friends and one of my partners is we created a small model how to find what is called your top performance, high performance moment. I think you all know it. You all have these moments of where you're fantastic, really, really flow. It was one of the days where you said, whoa, I'm so great. And then you have days where it was a disaster. I'll just see here. Oh, yeah, I love that question from Alex. Alex, please, you have to build more. First of all, we could see it if it was a part of the proposal. Second part was every time people came home, they told whether they did it or not. That's one of the first part. We had to build that trust. And then you were really into one of the good parts. You said, how could you actually see what was said? That's what I told you before. There's only, sorry to say, there's only one way not to control, but be curious about what is said. That is co-visit. That is recording your conversations. That is somebody listening. And I can tell you, if you were an athlete, Alex, there will always be a coach with you, seeing the games, giving you feedback, watching video. How often, Alex, do you see yourself on video, hear yourself recorded, or get feedback because somebody did a co-visit with you? Unfortunately, very rare, maybe never, because what happens is a salesman is very often on their own. And that's a really pity, because if you want to improve, then one day, maybe I should, if I was your colleague, maybe one day you should try with me and give me feedback. And I should have the mindset. Now we go back to this. I should have the mindset that I wanted to have this feedback because, Alex, you are not me. That's why you can coach me. You could say to me, Mats, I really like the way you do this. My good suggestion, my advice to you is that you could do more of this and this and this. Maybe we could practice this before the next meeting. That's the way we work to improve. But honestly, the first time you get your business card as a salesman, you can do whatever you like, as long as your results are okay. But how can you know they are okay? Because even they are on budget, they might not be okay. That might be, they could be better. Maybe you're below budget and they're still not okay. And that's one of the diseases I see in sales organizations. We are very focused on two things. We're very focused on budget and effort, because as Alex mentioned here, they are measurable. But the key to improve these two things are building effort, more effect, more quality. And the key to do that is build the mindset, build the emotions, build the focus. But how often do we actually work on that? How often do we speak about it? How much can we be open and honest? This is one of the things. I hope, Alex, that it makes sense for you what I said here. But there are so many ways to not to control, but to improve the effect, the quality. That's why I would never have an internal sales meeting without training sessions, without that we practice. And if some of you really want to do this, I can come out to you and show you just in a couple of hours how fast we can improve. But if you dare that, I'm ready to do it. Okay, but look at this. We want to find what I call the top performance zone. That is where I really top perform. And just give yourself a thought. Try to remember one of the days with a client where you really, really did amazing. It was one of the days you were in a flow, you were fantastic, everything was fantastic there, and you created whatever you wanted. Please try to write down in the chat what word comes to you when you should describe the situation for you. You did so amazing, you closed the deal, you were really flowing, you were flying, you were high flying. Put a word in the chat. What word comes to you to describe the situation and your state, so to speak? What comes to you as the first word? It can be everything. There was somebody saying balanced. That's a good point, Jan. Putting up balance. That's a really. How could we close anything if we're out of balance? That's a really good point. Put up on some words of you. I really like to see what you put up here because I can tell you, I work with athletes here, and what we try to find is their top performance zone. And when they can find that, we know how to find it, not by coincidence. Discipline is a good word. Thank you, Valerie. Power and influence, yes, definitely. And what we see with these athletes is, so one athlete that I work with, he said, I have these matches where I'm really good, and then I have these matches where I feel really bad, but it's unbalanced, he said. And then we start working with the mental muscle to get more consistent efforts and activity. And what happened now is, of course, he's just like you and me. He goes up and down mentally, but he can control it because he consciously can find back to his top performance zone. I got here some discipline, focused. And what I'll show you now is there are 3 key drivers. Confident, yes, that's a fantastic word as well. There are 3 key drivers, and I'll go through them. First of them is your goal and your plan. I'm not talking, when I talk about goal, I'm not talking about your overall budget. I'm talking about your goal for something that you have to achieve and the plan to go there. Because when somebody talk about being disciplined and evaluating and being focused, how could you ever do that without having a goal and a plan? And I have a lot of salespeople, they go to meetings without any plan. They just show up and say, let's see how we can get the best out of it. And what happened now is you go with your habit. And you go with a habit that might be good, maybe not good enough, or definitely not best. The next part is goal and plan. I come back to that. Then we have to be focused. Somebody said here, that is one of the things. How can I start having my focus at the right spot? That means focused on the plan I did, focused on the activity, keep focused on that. I promised myself, I'm going to give an example here. I put down the plan, how I would present the insurance. I wrote down actually the words and the questions I'm going to ask. I know exactly after signing the service contract, I would ask them this question, or before maybe. I put up a plan exactly how I built the meeting. I'll present this, I'll get the signature, I'll do this. I did it exactly how I wanted. And now I stay focused. But what happening is, what happened when I get closer and closer to the point where I have to ask them? I'm just about it. They said yes to the machine. They said yes to the service contract. And now I have to present the insurance. And then suddenly my emotions, my mental state creates a bad situation. Because a little voice tells me, better be on the safe side. if you try to ask them now for insurance, they might cancel everything. Don't do it. I think take what you got now. Don't do the next part. It's stupid. The funny thing is, how can you know that they will cancel service contract and machine when you ask them for insurance? And if you ask them with confidence and in the right way, what is the likability that they will stop here and say, move, go away? You can always do it if you can keep focused and you can control your emotions. But we get afraid, we get worried, and try to imagine you're just about to present. You're just about to present now the insurance. And then the client said, wow, it's a lot of money we spend on that machine, that service contract. That comes to your mind, coming to your thoughts, and you heard him say, wow, it's a lot of money. And it goes directly into your mindset saying, now I cannot present the insurance. I would turn it 180 degrees around. If he has invested so much money in that machine and that service contract, I can conclude one thing. And what is that? The machine is extremely important for him. So if you can create more value with an insurance, he will never, ever say no. But the funny thing here is that the brain, sorry to say, it fucks with you, because what it does is it tells you that you could have a bad situation. That's how the brain is. It's defensively playing. It gets you to be afraid. So what happened? Instead of your goal and your plan and your mental state and focus go together, they go apart. And this is a really bad situation because now you don't dare. So what you have to do now is you have to phone him later. And when you phone him later, he get a feeling of, why didn't you present it the same day? And why suddenly now? But you get afraid. So here you have to stick to your goal and your plan. I come back to that. You have to keep on being focused, and you have to create a situation with your emotional state of mind. Let's take a little look at that, because goal and plan. It's very, very easy to work with goal and plan. I very often work with salespeople where we put up goal and plan. One of the things we see is, I'll give you one example of goal and plan. We can see that there's a very simple way of going to success. One example of how you build goal and plan. My goal is that I want to achieve 100 orders, or I want to sell these 10 insurances. But to win one order, I found out that the way to order is that I first of all, or actually going backwards, I have a second meeting, I have a first meeting. I know that I have a contact, that means my canvas calling or my LinkedIn contact or whatever. And the last part is that I create a lead list with people on a lead list. The funny part here is, to create goal and plan, I need to know a little about my figures. Now we come back to the tuning fork. First of all, I could start saying, what is the value of an average order? A value of an average order is, in this situation, 10,000, whatever it is, dirhams, US dollars, Danish kroner, whatever. My budget is that I need to cover 1 million to make it easy. That means I need to have how many orders? I need 100 orders. Pretty easy stuff to see. 100 orders will give me 1 million. That means I need approximately 10 orders a month. I put away the summer holiday and a little around Christmas, then 10 months, 10 orders. I have a little lag, then I have 2 months to work with. And that actually gives me approximately 2.5 orders a week. That means if I can close a deal Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm home safe. Okay, then it's interesting to see, to get one of these orders, to get one of them, how many second meetings do you need? That means, what is my hit rate when I'm in second meetings? In this situation, let's just say that I'm really effective. I can close every third meeting. That means I only need 3 proposals to win 1 order. And then I can ask myself, how many second meetings do I need to get? Sorry, how many first meetings do I need to get 1 serious quality second meeting? Not what I call a sympathy meeting, but because that's a, shouldn't I follow up? I'll give you one example. When I started as a young consultant, I was driving around in Denmark in a very, very outer area of Denmark. Nobody lived up there. So when I went for meetings, I had to get at least 3 meetings a day, because then it wasn't waste of time driving there. And when I was in this first meeting, I very often said to people, I hope you found the meeting interesting. Yes, I sure did. So when you found it interesting, shouldn't I go home and make a proposal and come in 2 weeks and present it? And people normally said like this, sure, that's not a problem. That doesn't make any difference. So please do that. Yes, that's okay. So what happened now? They said yes, but they didn't say yes because they wanted to buy. So what I learned here was I need to be much more firm. And now again, you see what's happening now. The brain starts making assumptions. Instead of saying to them, I presented this for you today. How do you feel about buying this? And people could say, I'm not really sure it's the timing. Or they could say, yeah, that could be an option. And I could go deeper again. So I could actually ask, going back to the 3 words, how are you about buying this? And some would say, no, we're not nearby. Okay, what could make you nearby? When could you be nearby? Or why should I go and present a proposal for somebody who's not even nearby? But I hope for this. And this is what is called, I have a company that I work with, they call it, we work with the spray and pray philosophy. That means try it. And of course, sometimes we take chances. But what I found out was a lot of these meetings didn't lead to success. I could actually see that my second meetings, I needed 7 second meetings to close one deal. And the problem is, every time I was with one of the wrong second meetings, I wasted my time. And is there one thing that I don't have unlimited resources of, then it's time. So the problem here is I have 3 meetings in this situation, but I want quality second meetings. So what is actually the plan for first meetings? How do I frame them? What acceptance do I need? I don't need second meetings to prove to my boss that I have second meetings. I need second meetings that actually could lead to a sale. And in the beginning, I saw in this company I work with, they only needed 1 first meeting to go to the second meeting, but then they only closed 1 out of 10. So normally people will say, there's a problem with the closing technique. I said, there's no problem with the closing technique. There's a problem with the quality in the first meeting. The problem is their framing, the way they close the first meeting, the way they get an acceptance of proposal. And if proposal is okay, does it lead to a sale? They are afraid of letting somebody out in the first step. They think it's a success to go to the next meeting. So what we found out here is, and this is just an example, if you can work with this ladder, you find your efficiency. And just try to give an example. I need 4 first meetings to get 1 second meeting. I need 3 second meetings to get 1 order. And then I could see I needed 8 calls to get 1 first meeting. That will lead me to a second meeting to an order. The problem now is I need 1 multiplied by 3, 4, that's 12, multiplied by 8, that's actually 80, that's actually 96 leads. And you see, if I put that up here, to get 1 order, I need 96 meetings. I needed 100 orders, that means I need 300 second meetings. I need 400 first meetings. That's 700 meetings a year to close my deals. This is impossible. I need 800 calls where I get in touch with people, and I need 9,600 leads. I know this is theoretically, but the problem here is the plan comes when I define to be disciplined. I saw somebody put up the word discipline. That's saying, first of all, I have to work with this. Try to imagine I could bring this one down to 2. Try to imagine I could bring this one down to 6. That's it. So that's job here. That means I have to work with the way I do my first meeting, the way I do my canvassing. I know I have to do like 600 canvas calls a year. My plan could be with 600 calls, 10 months, that's 60 a month, that's 15 a week, that's 3 a day. Wow. So you see now we broke it down. I could also put it up and said, I need 200 first meetings, 200 first meetings, 10 months, that's 20 a month. That's actually only 5 a week. Wow, what's happening now? What I'm doing now is I'm about to build the way to success with a very strict and disciplined plan, saying my calendar for the week, just putting it up here, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I put up my calendar saying, okay, I have to do this 3 canvas calls a day, but I would rather put them that I do 5 on a Monday, 5 on a Wednesday, 5 on a Friday. That's great. Someday I do 6, 7, but I always put up 15 calls a week, 5 under 3 days. The same coming for the meetings. I need every week 5 meetings, new potential business. I know what kind of lead I'm hitting for. That means I know exactly where my focus is. So what we do here is we build a goal and a plan. My budget is 1 million. My budget is 100 orders. I know exactly what it takes. And if I 1 week miss, I need to go a little above. But if I go a little over my limit of 15 calls and I do 20, next week I do 15 again. And the minute I stop changing these habits, I'm ruining my discipline. So what we're talking about here is, we're really talking about building habits, because when I build these habits, I can stay focused. And when I stay focused, let's go to that, because first step, build your goal and your plan. This is the theoretical way to be successful. You can do the same for your meetings. How will I build my meetings? I have a first step in the meeting. I have a second step in the meeting. I do exactly like this. I can evaluate. I can change, because when you change the numbers, you need to work with the effect, the quality. So you have a mindset that I want to improve. You have the mindset that I'm disciplined to do my quantity prioritization. But this comes from mindset. Just like being on a diet, if you want to run, if you want to bike, if you want to learn something, it's the mindset, it's the heart, it's the passion, the emotion that actually creates this. So this is the first step. Second part is, now I need to be focused on what? I think a lot of you have seen this before. This is what is called circle of control or influence. When we talk about this, there are a lot of people. Right now, there's a crisis going on in Europe. There are crises going on in South America. There's something going on. Some places is amazingly good. I just worked yesterday with a company. They said, oh, we are so busy. Yeah, that's a good situation. But in 6 months, you're probably not busy. And then, oh, we're not so busy. No, but market, we can do nothing about. I'll give you one example here. I'll just go to this slide very shortly here. Because if you see this slide, results are created by 2 things, external factors and internal factors. External is the customers, competitors, the state of the market, everything. You can do nothing about it. What you can do something about is your internal strategy, the way you work, the way you build your culture. And unfortunately, what happens a lot of times is we spend a lot of time on the market, on the competitors, on everything out there. And what it is, all this is the out circle here. This is situation. This is market. This is circumstances. How much influence? 0 point something, very, very, very low. Unfortunately, this is the same situation for your competitors, or you could say actually fortunately, because they cannot do anything about it. You have to accept it. What you have to do is, you have to go to the middle of this and say, what can I actually do something about? One thing you can control 100% is your own behavior. And the minute you start focusing on your own behavior, you hit something very important. You hit that you can now reach for the circle of influence. Circle of influence means I can pick up the phone, I can put in the number, I can dial. That's my control. I don't know if I get somebody in the other end, and I don't know if they're happy or not. But if I'm ready to speak with them with my mindset focused on, I know I can influence them, then I can influence them. And when they say something to me, I can start speaking with them because I have a plan what I want to do. I have a plan if they're positive or they're negative. So my first question here could be, how are you? And some would say, I'm really bad or stressed. Then I have a strategy for doing something. Or somebody will say, I'm really great. Then I have a strategy. That means I am controlling my own behavior. And by controlling that, I'm actually improving my circle of influence. But on the other hand, a lot of salespeople, they feel that situation is bad. And what they feel is that the circle of influence gets around them. It's a little like it's straggling them. And that's a focus. Because the funny thing is, even in a bad situation, there's always somebody out there buying. There's always somebody out there buying. But when you focus on it's difficult, we cannot do it. So what we talk about here is the first step in your mindset. If you speak about something in the office, it's natural, it's human being that somebody said, wow, I really feel it's bad times out there. And you start saying, yeah, you're right. And they said, so it's really running up a hill. They said, yeah, it was better times 5 years ago. Yeah, it is. So you see, you start the negative spiral now. You need to stop it. And you can stop it by saying to people, it might be right what you're saying. What should we do about it? How should we react? We can do nothing about the market. We can do something about own behavior. And maybe we have to tune up, and instead of 15 calls this week, we need to do 20 calls. Or maybe we need to go to another segment or another industry. But the more you focus on what you can actually do something about, the more happy you get. The more happy you get, the more you can influence people. And now we're talking about, this is your first part. Every time you find something you can do nothing about, let it go. Focus on what you can actually do something about and focus on how you can influence people. I'll come back to that in a second. And this is a mental training because unfortunately the normal behavior is that we focus a lot on these things out there. We even say it's unfair. I would like, if I just was in this business, but you are not. You're here and you've been successful. So find back to what actually makes you successful. So that's the important part here. Focus on what you can do something about. That's why the second part is stay focused, stay disciplined. There's somebody out there with a mic, please mute. I can do nothing about it. I can only try to influence you. But you don't disturb me. You're just there disturbing other people, maybe. So what we see is goal and plan, do your dream calendar, know your way to order, be focused by understanding you should focus on what you can influence. And now we go to the emotional state of mind. And then we will go here. I'll show you one slide here. And this is probably the most valuable slide you'll ever see. There is a connection between how we act, how we feel, how we think. You can probably see that there is something going on here because goal and plan is action. Thinking is focus. And now we have the emotional part. If we feel good, we are on what is called the green track. On the green track, we get dopamine, endorphin, serotonin, oxytocin. We get really we are fueled for success. We're not talking about being naive. We're not talking about if somebody said, just sit down and think and you'll be happy. No, we're not. We're talking about controlling my mindset. On the other hand, we have the black track. And the black track has a problem because on the black track, we get fueled with adrenaline, we get fueled with cortisol, we are stressed. First problem is when we are stressed, we're very bad at finding solutions. We're very bad at being creative. And the worst part is we don't feel good. And when we are together with other people, we are not attractive. People don't like to be together with people on a black track that are always negative. So here we are in a situation where when we want to create emotional state of mind, we should focus on being on the green track. One of the things that you can do here is a very simple exercise. I did that with a group of salespeople. I do that normally with a lot of sports people. It's so simple. that somebody said, can this really work? It can. What you do is, every morning, you put down something that you are happy for and looking forward to. That is your dream for the day. It's a little graceful that you really feel this is good. Every end of the day, you put down 3 or 4 or 5 things that you did really well today. Only things that you did well, not things that was well in the situation. That means you're not telling that a good thing today was I got an order. No. It was your closing technique. It was the way you argumented. It was your discipline. You stick to your calendar. It's something that you can control, because what you do when you put down these good things here, you're doing actually, you improve your mindset, because you get stronger and stronger by thinking about the good things, because the brain naturally defends you, so it could go to think about the bad things. That is the first part of how you can build your mental strength. On the emotional part, talk about the happy moments, talk about what you did well today, celebrate it, because when you celebrate that you stick to your plan, you stay focused for what you can do, you improve your top performance zone. But how often do you do mental training? And we know what it takes to be in a physical condition. To be in a physical good condition means that you have to go to the fitness center at least a couple of times a week, maybe even every day. But how often do I go to the mental fitness center? It will take you only 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes in the night, but do you do it? We can all improve on that, and we can forget it. And the minute we are in a happy state, we forget. That's where you have to focus. Keep on. And now I'll give you a little perspective on what you can use it for. You can use it for this, because now we turn it towards your customers. This is what I call the island mindset. I mentioned for you, and I go back to this, how are you? And now we go, when I'm with a client, the island mindset is very easy to understand. At the first picture, you see 2 islands. On the back island, you have your client. On the first island, you have you as a salesman. On the first island, we greet them, we say hello, we tell them about the agenda, we frame what is the plan for the meeting, and then we travel to their island. A lot of salespeople start, sorry to say, bullshitting about the solution. They're telling, I'm a quality partner, we have good stuff. Stop it. Travel to their island. Try to understand what's going on in their life, in their business, in the company. What are the challenges? Where are they hitting? How could they see that you can support them? Go to their island, stay there, and show that you're curious and interested. One thing here, evaluate yourself. Try to do this for your meetings next week here. How often do you speak about yourself? How often do you speak about them? Because a lot of times you'll see that you speak too much about them. Sorry, about yourself. You have to be curious, asking questions, being interested. Go deeper and do what I call the double click. That means when they say, oh, I'm actually great. That's fantastic. What makes you so great? Oh, that's because our business is really running great. Fantastic. Tell me more about that. What's going on? So you practice here your way of communicating by asking more questions. Go deeper to understand them. Be curious and be serious interested instead of just being what I call salesman interested. How are you? I'm good. Great to hear. Let me tell you about our product. This can really do something for you. You cannot know what it can do for me before you know my situation. And then you can leave island number 2. You can bring the client to your island based on their need, their situation, how they feel, how they are, what they want to achieve. Bring them to your island and say, let me introduce you for our solution. With what you said on island number 2, I can tell you a little about what our solution can do that you can achieve your goals. Because you have to make the client stay focused on benefits, on what they can yield from this, what they can get. If they cannot get anything, they won't even do any business with you. So after framing on the first island, going to their island, then go to island number 3 and let them understand your solution. Maybe you have to travel a little back to island number 2 to understand more. And then you end up at island number 4. Island number 4 is closing. Closing is summarizing what they discussed, put up a timeline, try to find a solution, try to close a deal, And now we go back to this one. If you put up a plan saying, in my meetings, I'll follow the island mindset. I'll start by framing. I'll visit the island. I'll bring them to mine. And then I'll close up in the end. Maybe you can now see where you're strong and where you're not. A lot of salespeople are very afraid of closing a deal. I must also say, a lot of them are not skilled. And what I mean by skilled is the mindset is they're closing deals because of themselves, not because they want to help a client. They lost the purpose, they lost the mission. They're just there for the budget and for themselves. Nobody wants to do business with somebody who is there for themselves. You need to feel in your emotions, I can do a difference. Bring back your mission of your company. I read a lot of company missions, but you don't use them. Bring them in the discussion with the client. Our mission is to do this. And please evaluate me. How did you feel about it? So you can do it a lot better by doing this instead of just presenting your product. Sorry to say, any clown from a circus can do it. Any clown from a circus can learn to present products. And what you're doing when you only present products is you're competing on the worst battlefield ever. So if you want to create a relation, you have to practice and you have to improve your skills of building emotional relatives. And that means, yeah, I like that. No, you don't get objection handling. Just a short kick here because you brought up here, objection handling is a fantastic situation because that really comes to a mindset stuff. Normally people start discussing when people said your product is really expensive. Yeah, but it's quality. Yeah, but it's really more expensive to our clients. Yeah, but we're better. You see what we're doing? We're just trying to tell them something they cannot use for anything. So just a short introduction here for you, if you want to be the strongest in handling objections, always meet an objection positive. That means I'm really happy that you're honest about the price situation. Let me just understand, because what you do is you uncover. Let me try to understand what you mean by the price situation. What brings you there? Tell me a little more. What is your expression about this? What is your feeling? You talked about this. And then after meeting positive, asking a couple of questions, double clicking. You see, you meet them. You're not fighting, you meet them. Then you go to change their focus. That's why it's important. And then you say, one thing is that you talk a little about the investment. But what is the value actually of our product? I could imagine that it's more important that you get value out of this. What value do you see? If they don't see any value, then price is irrelevant. Price is only a problem when they don't see value. Price is not a problem if I see value. So what you do here is 3 small steps. And unfortunately, what I see is salespeople forgot this one. They go directly for the throat of the people here. So this is really where people need to practice. You have to love when we bring in objections. And then you can uncover by double clicking, understanding, and then you can change the focus. So then you can say, okay, I hear, since you react here, I could feel that the product is really important for your business, right? Yes, it is for sure. What can it bring to your business? How much value can it get? That means I focus now on the important part, the value. So I promised you 3 things. So far I've given you 2, and now I'll give you the last one. I gave you here, first of all, the tuning fork. And then, of course, I gave you this one. This is the way for yourself to stay focused. I gave you the island mindset, how you can actually work with understanding your clients better, visiting their island, bring them to your island, build a common island, and try to close it there. Unfortunately, no, I didn't bring closing technique today. And then I would definitely recommend one more thing. I'll go to one slide here just to show you that one. This is one of my definitely favorites. Very often to create results, this blue line here creates the level of results. Very often we are very focused on productivity and behavior. But how often do we actually work with the mindset, the happiness as a group? And what do I mean by that? I would shortly give you 3 steps that are very important to understand. First of all, how often do you actually enjoy the activities you do yourself? That's why I said to you in the evening, sit down and enjoy that you did 5 canvas calls, you had 3 meetings. Enjoy what you can do. This is the first step to a higher degree of passion. It is proven that people with a higher degree of passion and happiness create better results. Not strange, because we know that. And then another part is engagement. Engagement in the group. Create engagement in the group. That means, how often do we sit down in our group of salespeople and discuss our success? What is working? Maybe discuss what is a challenge and how we can do it. But we do it with respect of the circle of control. That means a sales meeting should never be a discussion about all the bad people out there, the competitors, the stupid customers. Always focus on what you can do. Be together to talk about success stories. Listen to those people in your group that actually are successful. Use the island mindset when you are there. I've been in a lot of groups with salespeople, and one of the guys said, I'd like you to tell a success story. I was lucky yesterday to do like this and this and this. He didn't even finish his sentence before somebody said, oh, I did better. How do you feel in a group when somebody has to show they're better? Be curious and ask him what he did, how he felt. So now we're coming back to the main question. How often do you ask people in your group, how are you? With the will to understand them, with the will to know how they actually are, if they're good or bad. So here we're talking about in your group, enjoy what you're doing yourself, engage with your people around you, and then in the end, try to find what I'll show you here. The last part, try to find meaning. When I talk about meaning, I talk about purpose. How often do you discuss your purpose of the company in your group? I worked with a company that said, our group, our mission is to make it possible to have success for our clients. But how often did they actually discuss that in the group? Very rare. What I can tell you here is these 3 steps will help you to create a stronger mindset in the group. So summarizing this, the key question here is definitely, how are you? And I really hope that you, after this session today, feel that you are fantastic and that you want to work with your mindset. And that's where it ends here, because of course you can get the materials, you can get the stuff. And I also know that some of you people might be invited to an online workshop peer group with me. Mark probably sent your link, otherwise he will do it now, that you can be invited to a workshop. 8 people can participate in an online workshop where in 90 minutes we work with your company, with you, how you can strengthen your mindset, your competences. And by that, I just want to thank you for your participation, and I wish you a fantastic day out there. Take care, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it.